Is it possible to one-shot every enemy in Slay the Spire 2? There are many ways to increase your damage in this game, but at start, your deck is terrible, your damage is low, and killing anything in a single hit is basically impossible. So we'll need to get creative. The rules are simple, I have to beat the entire game, but I'm only allowed to damage each enemy once. If they don't die instantly, I restart. And to make things worse, multi-hit cards are banned. If it hits more than once, I can't use it. It has to be one single, massive hit every single time. Which means I somehow need to build a deck that can deal ridiculous, game-breaking damage on command. With the right cards, the right relics, and a whole lot of luck. And if anything goes wrong, a bad draw, a turn's artifact, or an enemy that scales way too quickly, it's back to the beginning. So yeah, this is probably a terrible idea, but at this point I've already committed. Let's see how far this goes. First I had to choose a character. The Silent can take damage without attacking, so that one is out. That leaves us with 4 options, and since I've only played Regent, Big Sword it is. The problem is that his starting deck has no way to scale damage, so I had to keep restarting until the whale gave me something with Force, which took way longer than it should have, and still would most likely lead to our demise. On our best run I picked a random rare card, and got the Smith, letting me force a huge 30 damage onto our Sovereign Blade. I focused on avoiding as many barrels as possible at start, until we got our deck going. Since the only thing we could do was play Defend and end our turn. On second one though, we got really lucky, with Venerate giving us enough stars to use the Smith. We took a little bit of damage and still for time, until we could Venerate and Forge again, getting just enough power to kill the little bug. On the loot, we got a Force 10, which is insane to get this early alongside Smith. I transformed one of our strikes into a draw card, and got into a fight at the next event. Spoils of Barrel Force 10 right off the bat, and it, alongside the Smith at second turn, meant I killed Big One quite early, with the others quickly following. And another Force. They're treating us quite well, huh? On the next event I picked up the map that marked the site of 600 gold in the next act, and since we didn't need to rest, I upgraded the Smith at Bonfire. I avoided the Elite, and put our newly upgraded cards to use, killing the weird fella in 3 turns. Only if a fight stayed this easy. One Gambler's Potion and a skip later, since there was nothing useful, and I was fighting Fog Mog. Using Refined Blade at first turn allowed us to forge and get extra energy on second one, and this beautiful skill let us choose 2 cards to put in our hand. So I forced as much as I could, and since the damage was not yet enough, blocked. The only problem was the spectral plant spawned by the mushroom putting crap cards in our hand, but it is what it is. On the third round our luck was quite bad, so I used the potion to reroll, and got another 6 force, which was unfortunately not enough, and made us take 15 damage. At least I killed it on next round, and got another Spoils of Barrel, so not terrible. To avoid fighting the Elite I chose Unknown, got 150 gold at cost of our health, and a freaking great relic that gives us 1 block per card in our hand at the end of the turn. With this we finally arrived at a merchant, where we bought an energy generating card and a shield, both costing stars. With leftovers there was still enough to buy this relic, and enchanted these 3 cards with extra block. This, my friends, was huge. Being able to forge and gain block at the same time is just perfect. With it I killed the slime at second turn, and thanks to the artifact, only took 1 damage at third. Nonetheless our health was still getting dangerously low, so I used the weak potion to nerf this mushroom's fly's damage, killed it, and healed ourselves at the rest site. It's worth noting that we got possibly one of the most broken cards of the game, Child of the Mother Freaking Stars. Upon use, it gives 2 block for each star spent, meaning that our Smith card now gives us 11 defense. It's just so good. Like this broken potion that triples the damage on our next attack. We then got to know thy place, and fought this Vine Dog, that increased the energy cost of our attack cards. Lucky that we don't use those. It was hitting like a truck though. But with Child of the Stars, Cloak of the Stars also gave extra shield, and we endured long enough to stack our Sovereign Blade, and used it to kill it. Ooh, Royal Gamble! A card that has a 5-star cost, and gives us 9 stars. That's basically free shield. and we even used Bonfire to upgrade it, and make it not leave our hands at the end of the turn. Now, time for the final boss of the first act. I started forging and defending as usual, and even used our skill to put 2 cards of our choosing in our hand in next turn. I took some damage, and chose Child of the Stars and Refined Blade, and holy cow, just look at the quantity of cards. And what's cool about this deck is that thanks to stars and energy generation, I could literally use all of them if I played well enough, enabling us to forge right there and then, and to kill the first little guy shortly after. The other one took a bit more, since I had to get Sovereign Blade again, but one big forge and a vulnerable that makes the enemy take 50% more damage later, and I went for the big one instead. This allowed us to pick this skill, and reach the second of the 3 arcs, where I received this relic from the Ancient. Now we'll always draw an extra card at start of our turn, which will be real useful against this sticky fingered jerk, who stole our most precious card, and we'll get away with it if we don't kill it in 4 turns. Fortunately, with the help of a little vulnerable, that won't be happening. Let's just not talk about the many times he stole our card and I had to save scum. Alright, apart from our card back, we also got Bulwark, that gives massive block and force at the same time. And now, my friends, is a battle not even Save Scumming could save me from losing, cause these guys quite literally can take more than 9 damage at a time, period. So, can I one-shot everything in Slay the Spire 2? No, I can't. I tried, really hard. But if we just skip through these guys and pretend they don't exist, we can see if it's possible to one-shot all the others, including the final boss. All our rewards were pretty darn good, but I stuck with Glow because of the card draw, and cause it synergizes really well with alignment. Next up was this Toxic Fly that spawned some friends. I just focused on stacking damage as usual, and despite taking some to the face, that happens, it all went smoothly. Another debuff, and a random event that gave me a completely useless relic later, and we're fighting this rainbow bug. It would give me some pretty nasty damage later. So I just comboed Know Thy Place and Gigantification Potion to end it early and avoid disgraces. I then recover some health at rest site, and bought the card that will carry us for the rest of our run, Conqueror. It basically makes our blade deal double damage to a chosen enemy, just broken. And we also got a way to spawn it from anywhere, and remove the trash card from our deck. And if all that wasn't enough, here is the 600 gold we were promised in first act. Things were looking really promising, my friends. I finished the next fight with ease, and engaged this bull-sized frog. He dealt pretty good damage, and not even the weak potion could save me from taking some of it, where I kept religiously forging. And by the 5th turn, I had all the stars I could ever want, and the Holy Trinity in hand. Conqueror, Know Thy Place, and the Sovereign Blade. That went from 100 damage to 300. And well, I can't say no to another glow. And surely not to a merchant that sold a star costing block card that returns to your hand upon use. And since we still had a lot of bread, I removed another strike, and even bought this relic that gives us a copy of the first card we exhaust each combat. But enough taking on small guys. I took Hidden Cash with us, rested, and prepared to face the big boss of the second act, Knowledge Demon. This was not going to be easy, so I drank the blessing of the 4th potion to upgrade all the cards in our hand, and started sharpening our knife. The demon made me choose between 2 huge debuffs, and there was no freaking way I took an additional 6 damage every turn, so one less card it is. Thanks to the upgraded Forgotten Conclusion, I chose our beloved Child of the Stars, the Smith, and Hidden Cash to go into our hand for 2nd turn. I used them alongside a Dexterity Potion to forge and get some nice block, that negated all the damage we'll take. And after a Spoils of Barrel on 3rd turn, I Am Invincible came in a clutch to do the same on 5th. It was again time to choose a debuff, and I was pretty much forced to take the 7 extra damage. But worry not, cause shield was not something we had shortage of. Nice try, mate, nice try. I'm not gonna pretend it was easy, he was dealing a ton of damage. Our Sovereign Blade was taking a while to stack, and debuffs kept on coming. But on the 10th turn, I had the Holy Trinity in hand, and not even the Knowledge Demon could resist that. Goodbye, mate, won't miss ya. Unfortunately, the rewards weren't that good, but what matters is that we finally arrived at the third and final act. We chose the extra energy at the start of each turn, and used our powerful combo to one-shot this shield fellow right at start, and the other one not long after. A stop at Merchant later, where we bought another artifact, and we cleaned the floor with these big mouth napkins. They did reduce our max HP a bit, but no worries. We skipped the cars and continued forward, this time facing a Bat Howl. He was dealing some cheeky damage, but nothing you couldn't deal with the help of our artifact, that gives one block for each card left at the end of our turn. It then started flying to reduce the damage it took, but our deck was really well built, if I might say so myself, and reducing damage was not a problem of ours either. So its attacks had no power against us. Although, as you can see by the size of our sword, Bat Howl couldn't say the same about ours. Furnace was really tempting to take, but since we already had enough force, I opted for Gather Light instead. At the rest site I upgraded my precious and obtained a random relic at the event. It was quite the useless one since we couldn't use it. Though this one we could, and it was quite powerful too. Our next enemy was Slimed Berserker right here, that had the nasty habit of burning shit in our deck. Fortunately, Tyranny could help us with that, since it exhausted a card of our choice at the start of each turn, so I could just focus on our forging shenanigans. Alas, this slime jerk inflicted us with weakness, so it took a while until we had enough damage to kill it. But its time eventually came, and it gave us shit cards even as a reward. On the next event, I removed the exhaust from Master of Strategy, so we can use it more than once in battle. And on the next battle, things went quite well. The Frog Knight had some high damage that was hard to deal with at first, but after we got Child of the Stars, it was a piece of cake, and I had as much shield as I wanted. So I continued forging and used Conqueror to one-shot it. But now, the games are over, and it's time for the real challenges. I paid 83 gold to Divine 3 times, which was not of any use, and finally faced our very first elite, just before the final boss. As luck would have it, we got our beloved COTS at first turn, but took a fat 20 damage right to the face. It fortunately shielded a bit on second turn. Is what I'd have said if it didn't put a ton of damage dealing burns in our hands. Nothing we can't deal with though. Wait, 40 damage? You kidding me, right? Yeah, Royal Gamble, please, come to the rescue. And we even got the Smith as well after drawing more cards. Perfect. Not gonna lie, we got quite lucky, and just used the next few turns to keep increasing our damage. Although he did too as well. 45 damage in one attack is just insane. And he even gave us 3 of our debuffs as well, including Conqueror, which was quite sad. I defended it all the same, and on the 11th turn, his luck finally ran out, and I put an end to his misery. 804 damage. Oof. But even that much won't be enough to deal with what we're about to face. To reach the final boss, we first had to destroy the door, and only then could we face the beast waiting inside. Upon using the skill potion, I got, perhaps one of the most broken cards. Big mother freaking bang. Energy, stars, forge and draw. What more could you ask for? And thanks to our relic, we could even use it twice. We took 5 damage and proceeded for a second round, where we secured COTS and Smith to create some thick block that was able to handle his massive damage. On the 5th turn, I finally had an argument big enough to lure the real beast hiding inside. The Door Maker, the final boss of the final act. He had 489 HP, and our Sovereign Blade was still only dealing 179. Not to mention that he dealt some pretty nasty damage too, and wanted to escape. We surely couldn't let that happen, not after all the pain we went through to make this possible. So I forged another 40, and used our ultimate trio, bringing our damage to a whopping 666. Which was more than enough to put an end to the Door Maker. With this, we finally beat the game, and get one-shotted by the Architect. Gotta love the irony. Kinda sad we weren't able to really complete this challenge, but I hope you enjoyed it all the same. and if you did, make sure to watch his other one as well. And I'll see you there. So, goodbye.